Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic Hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I'm here to do a breakdown and review for you of the latest episode of Agatha All Along. It was called Darkest Hour, Wake Thy Power. And as it starts, the ladies and teen are in the woods, and Lillian gets a vision informing her that the Salem Seven have made it through to the road because they forgot to close the door when they summoned a replacement witch for Mrs. Hart. So the ladies all grab some giant tree roots to use as brooms and fly away from the seven, who are, in fact, actually approaching. After they're forced out of the sky by the road and are unable to continue fleeing, they find themselves in like a cabin in the woods type thing in 80s clothes, and they realize that this trial is for Agatha. When a Ouija board appears, they play the Ouija board, and they're told that the spirit of Mrs. Hart is there. And it's funny because it's spelled out Mrshart, and I thought it was spelling Mr. Shart. I thought they were doing a joke, and that they were gonna say, "Oh, Mr. Shart," very funny, but it's Mrs. Hart without an E. So it's yeah. Anyway, for a brief moment, Agatha pretends that the spirit of Mrs. Hart has possessed her, but she's not very good at it, so the witches figure it out. Jennifer puts forth the idea that maybe they're supposed to punish Agatha on behalf of the spirits, and Agatha takes off and hides. It isn't long before the coven find her clinging to the ceiling on her back, at which point she drops to the floor and starts behaving like a person possessed, a la The Exorcist, and looking pretty pale. She almost chokes Jennifer out, but then Lillian finds a way to turn on some lights, and Agatha takes off again. A crazy mist shows up and is apparently a ghost, the ghost of Agatha's mother. The ghost tells the witches to finish the journey down the road without Agatha and to walk with her instead. Rio objects, and then Agatha talks with her mother, who tells Agatha she was born evil and should have been killed when she was born. Jen urges the witches to leave without her, and Agatha begs them not to before the mother takes over her body again, at which point Alice magically attacks the mother, allowing Agatha to draw power from Alice. During all this, Teen accesses the Ouija board and learns that Agatha's son, aka Nicholas Scratch, is also present before Alice dies, having been drained too much. Teen is distraught by this, and when he explains to Agatha that it makes him not want to be a witch, she laughs at him and questions whether or not he's sure about that. Seemingly having figured out who he is, she says that he's very much like his mother. This makes him mad, and he starts to glow with blue power, at which point the witches grab Agatha under his control and throw her to the ground, which begins to envelop her, after which Teen then uses his blue power to blast the other witches onto the same ground, which also envelops them. As the episode ends, some type of headgear magically appears on his face, which isn't dissimilar from that of the headgear worn by the character Wiccan, aka Billy Maximoff, a reincarnation of Wanda Maximoff's son, William, in the comics. And of course, it also looks like the headgear that Wanda wore in the comics and the films. And that's where the episode ended. So I didn't think too much of this episode. It was really thin, I thought, in the story department. I mean, we got a bunch of information dumped on us, but other than that, there wasn't anything really thought-provoking or exciting that happened. You know, we learned that Mr. Scratch is part of the equation, which we knew was going to happen because it's Agatha's son. We learned that Teen is Billy, aka Wiccan, which was kind of spoiled by the release of some pop figures from the show or pictures of the pop figures. We learned that the character Lady Death is in play, and there's some speculation that that's Rio, but that's really all that happened. So I didn't think too much of the episode, and they killed Alice. I didn't like that at all. If they were going to kill somebody, they could have killed off the Patti LuPone character. I don't care for the character at all. Should have kept Alice. Alice is cool. Or was cool. R.I.P. Alice. Anyway, they're killing the good characters. They killed Mrs. Hart, and now they killed Alice. It's like, kill one of the stupid characters. Anyway, there's not a lot to say. I don't even know what Billy is thinking. He can't get anything out of finishing the road alone. He needs a coven. That's the whole point of why they all went together in the first place. So I don't know, maybe if he survives the other trials by himself, is that his plan? Is that going to work? I don't know. But we know Agatha's going to come back. I think we can be pretty sure Rio's coming back. But as for Jen and Lillian, who knows? But that's really it. There just wasn't a lot to say, about it. It wasn't very substantive. It was like a big information dump, really. And I guess there are only 4 episodes left, so, we're more than halfway through. But that's really it. I'm going to get out of here. I'll be back to review the next episode once it's released. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.